What's up, Philadelphia? It is E-Rock and Gale here. Ooh, trying something a little new. Trying something, a little split screen action for you.
You know?
Podcast isn't, up until the start of the season. We will be doing a training camp podcast. We wanted to give this a try. That way we were able to check in with you guys and talk about the current issues of the Philadelphia Eagles. A little split screen, Gale. I like it.
Yeah,
I
look,
like it. Think, man.
this is the off season. This is what the off seasons are for. It's about, reworking the system, getting things fired up at full cylinders. Pretty excited. LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, Eagles news just came down today for everybody asking for a running back. The Eagles have officially signed to a 1-year deal, running back from the champion New England Patriots, LeGarrette Blount. So, Gail, how do you see him fitting into this system now that we have Smallwood, we got Pumphrey, all right, we've got, now Blunt in the rotation here. Do you see him as a feature back, or do you see him as a rotational guy in Doug Peterson's system?
I mean, he's a rotational guy, but he has the feature skill set that we're looking for when you look at our running back group now. He's the perfect fit for the true running back by committee. I think when this signing happened, I couldn't be even it's a mid signing, mid free
Yeah.
agent signing. But for me, you know how upset I was about the Eagles passing on a road grader in Jamal Williams out of BYU. I'm gonna keep bringing that for the whole year,
Boy,
but
that still things, man. That
it's
still hurts.
it hurts, man. It hurts. But we have road grader, so obviously got to be excited about that. I really feel like he is going to be the feature back for us, though.
Now, with Sproles, this being his last year, he did come out and say that he was going to retire at the end of the year. Kind of an unknown in Wendell Smallwood. What can he add? And then a very tiny. I mean, you saw those pictures from rookie minicamp. Mr. Pumphrey. They said he was small, but
Yeah.
I feel like an entire hypocrite because I'm a small dude myself, calling another guy
Hey,
small. But it is what it is. He looked like, bring your kid to work day. Somebody dressed him up in a uniform and let him play on the football field. He is tiny. I think you're absolutely correct. I don't know if he's going to be the feature back, though. Because while he did have, record number of touchdowns last year, over 1,000 yards, he was at the benefit of the New England Patriots system. Not only that, but when you take a look at the running style of a Doug Peterson, let's say Jamal Charles, let's say a Brian Westbrook, that Andy Reid sort of West
right.
Coast offense, they don't really rely on a LeGarrette Blount that much. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, you think about they want to get to a power running game. You think about how he was utilized in New England. He wasn't asked to catch a lot of passes. You had Dion Lewis doing that. You had pass catchers. So in a way, when you week after week you go up against different defenses, you can use these backs and feature them as they fit for that week. So I think on first and second down, it's going to be Blunt, and then it's going to be Pumphrey and Sproles and Smallwood on third down, and then maybe Smallwood is a guy that you could do the change of pace back with. He can handle a couple series on his own while you could sprinkle in Pumphrey and Sproles all throughout the series. So
But the lack of a pass catching talent by him. Now, I think Philadelphia is going to love this guy. I mean, he's a grinded out player. He's a
right,
big butt. He's hard to bring down. He fights for those extra yards, and that's what Philadelphia loves. We love to see a guy put in effort and not give up. I mean, you literally have to drag this guy down with a bull. He's a bulldozer out there. But do you think like the lack of the pass catching? Because before we got on, we were talking about the number of catches that he's had in his career, which in a Doug Peterson slash Andy Reid slash Philadelphia Eagles West Coast offense system is nothing in his career. Do you think that's a hindrance, or that's when you bring in a guy like Sproles or Smallwood?
I think that's where you bring in Sproles. In total, he's got about 47 catches to his 46 catches to his career.
That's not.
Last year for the Patriots, he came down with 7 grabs for 38 yards. But you know, I think he's the missing link for me. Like I can't say how much excited I am about this because coming after the draft, I was like, we are missing something. I figured, once Matthews, they're gonna get rid of Matthews, and
Yeah.
then we're gonna get that back sometime around June 1st. But Belichick pulled a fast one on the league again. Now letting LeGarrette Blunt go. It was in the writing anyway. They gave his number to another player that just signed with the Patriots, but they get back like a fourth or fifth round compensatory pick by us signing LeGarrette Blunt. So
Well, there you go. And if anything, I mean, there was a lot of reaction on Twitter when I first heard about it. There was a lot of people saying that Blunt sucks and this is a terrible move. Kyle from Crossing Broad.
yeah,
There were a lot of people that were really hyped about the signing. To me, I'm excited. I'm not over the top because in my eyes, this is really the only move to be made. This made sense as soon as Denver, got their running back,
Jamal
um,
Charles.
Jamal Charles. Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah,
thought that sure shit. During the draft, I tweeted like, "Look, if we don't get a running back in this draft, if that value isn't there, if they happen to take a pass on a running back, there's still a worst case scenario where they can sign Jamal Charles to a 1 year deal or maybe a 2 year deal, depending on how they feel about that knee and how healthy he is." And he will guide you along until the next draft when you can go ahead and attack the running back position head on. After Charles signs with Denver, really this is the only move to be made. They can't go into training camp with an injured Ryan Matthews and the writing's on the wall for him. As
right.
soon as he's healthy, he's going to be cut. You can't go in there with the midget squad, the midget circus squad of Humphrey and Smallwood. You just can't. You can't have that stable of running backs. You have to have at least one
Yeah.
guy who can pound it in on third and short, and you got to have one guy who, if it's goal line situation, is going to get you that tough yard into the end zone.
Yeah, and I think it was Kempsky that put out a tweet about the short yardage situations. I mean, this dude is all world on short yardage situations. I mean,
Yeah,
if you look at that one play against the Steelers last season, it was like a run from inside the red zone where the Eagles struggled to score from. Uh, it took like 7 dudes to tackle him. He brought the ball all the way down to like the 1 yard line with. He got to the 10 and he had 7 dudes on him at the 10 and brought him down to the 1. So obviously this dude is an ox, and he's nimble too. That's the funny thing. If some people don't remember in that preseason game against the Patriots, I thought it was like 3 years back. He had a 59-yard scamper for a touchdown, cut across field, broke Brandon Graham's ankles, cut across field, scored a touchdown. Dude's pretty amazing, and he has a nifty left hook, a right hook. Did you see that tweet I sent out today, where he
no.
punches? He when he was at Oregon, he punched
Oh,
this
I did
guy.
say that.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean that's a little bit of an attitude thing, and he
Yep,
got a little swagger in the backfield. You
he
got to
does.
like a guy that's gonna, we're so used to the DeMarco Murrays of the world, either sliding or running out of bounds or avoiding contact, that to have my eyes might be diet Marshawn Lynch. You know, think about think about it, right? A
uh,
little bit that you can have a guy that can pound it through the tackles, punish a defense if it's not working. Now all of a sudden you have a guy that not only did you upgrade the receiver position in Jeffrey and Smith, and you have J Matt, but now the safeties really kind of got to respect the
definite.
linebacker, have to respect the run game. Because can you imagine like a scenario where Sproles and this guy are in the backfield, and then Sproles goes into motion or goes into the slot? If you're a defensive coordinator, I mean, you got to be shitting your
Right.
pants.
And that's what at the end of the day, that's what it's about. I mean, like having a guy like that on the field, He can win short down situations. He can make a defensive coordinator think just by him being on the field. You have a scat back in Sproles or Pumphrey, who are just could go in motion. You got to it'll make defenses think twice, and I think that's what Belichick loves to do with defensive coordinators. So yeah, it's gonna be lovely.
Now, speaking of the wide receivers, because we brought this up a little bit, Elliott Shore-Parks had an interesting tweet, which I have been saying for a while, and I wanted to get your take on it because I also brought it up to the BGN boys. Right,
Okay.
last year they on the active roster they kept 5 receivers. This year, I would say that Jeffrey J. Matt's a lock. I would also say that the 2 rookies are a lock as well because when you invest
Yep.
the 4th round pick, they're going to be making the squad. Gibson's burner. Matt Collins, we'll see what happens there. People
Mm-hmm.
are good things about him. Granted, it's only rookie minicamp and they're in shorts and shells, so who really knows? But they're going to make it. So you just held up that 4. That's 4 right now. So who's the 5th? Is it Smith that goes, or is it Nelson Aguilar that has finally shown his way out of
I'm thinking it's definitely Smith. He's on the roster. They brought him in for a reason. He has the history with Douglas, so he knows what he's going to get out of Torrey Smith. I feel like they could even keep 6. They could keep 6.
the only reason I doubt the 6th thing is because of there is so much quality depth, and it's such a role reversal from last year. There is such quality depth now at offensive line and defensive line. When you think about who they drafted, the draft class that they just had, bringing in Jernigan, Honey Boo Boo
Yep.
is good on IR. Who knows what's going to happen with that injury? And then you talk about the extensive depth that now seems to be on the interior of the offensive line, guards and centers. They might want to fortify the trenches and leave. It's almost like a quality over quantity thing with the wide receivers. Like, look, we'll pick 5. We got to pick
Yeah.
our best and leave some room really for the other positions.
But if you think about Mac Hollins, he's I think some people were mistaken. They're like, oh, he does special teams. Like he's a gunner. Like he's the guy chasing down, making tackles. You won't see Aguilar doing it. You won't see a DGB doing that. A Torrey Smith doing that. You won't.
Right.
This is where he specializes in. So
Mm-hmm.
That usually they have a defensive back doing that. So that's just the extra, versatility that he brings that you could, you know, have an open space when you have a Mac
Right.
Hollins around. But
And Smith has proven at the very least that he is a competent wide receiver. He's
right.
only had 1 year where he's going over 1,000 yards, 1 year in 6 years. But really, if you think about it, last year he was dealing with Blaine Gabbert,
Mm-hmm.
and in San Francisco, a
It should be.
lousy situation. An offensive system that really made wide receivers look incredibly bad. We know all about that.
Yeah.
So having a down couple years and having more drops last year statistically than Nelson Aguilar, I'm willing to give Smith the benefit of the doubt because he's proved he can do it in the past. Whereas Aguilar, I'm calling it right now. I don't think he makes this final roster unless he has a
Yeah.
stellar camp, gets out of his own head and proves to the world that, hey, listen, I'm ready to be a major contributor. I'm ready to live up to that 1st round pick status. I'm ready to catch 100 balls like I did at USC his last year there. I don't see the financial benefit. I'd have to take a
Nah.
peek at how big the cap hit is, but at some point you got to let the guy go.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely fighting for his life to be on this roster, and that's exactly where I want Aguilar to be. It's put up a shut up time. There's no more excuses. And DGB, I think he's on his last leg. So you're saying 5,
I'm saying 5.
5.
I think 5. Just based off of other positions and either the quality depth that's there in the trenches or the overall lack of depth. You take a look at cornerback. they're going to want to keep a lot of cornerbacks because they don't have a lot of quality there. So if
Yeah,
one guy hacking it or one guy goes down, all of a sudden you have, Jalen Mills wagging his finger and who else? Who else? You have to wait for Sidney Jones. It's worth it. You have to wait.
Patrick Robinson,
Patrick Robinson,
injury prone.
injury prone. So all of a
Um,
sudden now you're taking a look at the cornerback position. You're saying, oh my God, we have to keep an extra cornerback on the active roster
yeah.
because you never know what happen with these guys.
If I'm gonna have to make room for a spot, extra person on the roster, it's definitely gonna be at cornerback. So you're right on that. And I'm still saying 6 though.
Still saying 6. So you think both Smith and Nelly make it?
They might kick the tires. It's DGB or Aguilar. One's going. I don't
Now
see both.
here's another question for you. As this conversation is rolling, and again, we're trying this for the first time. We're trying this, split screen, FaceTime thing, just to kind of keep you guys updated while we're out of new media studios. Again, the podcast will be coming every Tuesday once again, once the beginning of the season kicks off. But here's is another question for you. The draft rumors during this year's draft that guys like Kendricks, guys like Kelsey, were going to be traded. Now they're still on the roster in a little bit of an awkward situation where all of a sudden, like, hey guys, good to see you in the locker room. No, we weren't going to trade you at all. We never had a phone conversation with San Francisco to send Kendricks over there. We never wanted to trade Kelsey. Why don't you think those guys got traded? A and B, is there going to be any market after the draft?
I think they had trades in place. I think they fell through. Like Adam Kaplan was saying about um, Kendricks he had the article written about Kendricks being traded, and that didn't happen. I think Kelsey, um, I think there still might be room for Kelsey to be moved. Injuries happen. We saw Sam Bradford. We saw what happened in Minnesota. You never know. But there's just way too. I had tweeted out. I said, only in Philadelphia where we have too many centers and one needs to be traded. But there's way too much interior depth. I think we have 12 interior linemen on the roster right now. That's
Yeah,
crazy. We're not even
and that
we're not even talking tackles.
and that's what gave that Mark Ingram trade rumor such credence is the fact that they had, the Saints signed Adrian Peterson to that deal, and they drafted a running back, and all of a sudden Mark Ingram. Now they got a stable of running backs where one's expendable. Former first round pick, hadn't always lived up to it. Had a great year last year, and all of a sudden we've got a stable of interior offensive linemen. That's what kind of made that make sense. Would you rather have Blunt or Ingram?
I mean, I'd rather I'd rather pay Blunt money
Yeah,
because 2.8. What Ingram was like 5 something, around 5 million,
yeah, I get.
and we can't afford we can't have nice things when you only have a certain amount of budget in your cap. So I feel like they still have a little bit left over. I think the 2.8 million that Blount signed is incentive based, so he might have to get to a certain amount of yards to get that 2.8. So it could be lower than that. So there is still wiggle room for when we release Matthews, and then we might have if they trade Kendricks or Kelsey, we'll have some more wiggle room for another player.
Now Blunt is on a 1 year deal in what seems to be the off season that invented the 1 year. Two comments on that really is that you take a look at Alshon 1 year deal, Corey Smith 2 year deal. It's really a 1 year deal. During his final year of his rookie contract, you now have Blunt on a 1 year deal. Does this set the Eagles up for either A, extra compensatory pick when eventually some of these guys have to go, and depending on what the Eagles do in free agency, they might get back some compensatory, which is not tradable, by the way, which are not tradable.
Right.
But we set them up for an even, I think, more difficult free agency situation next year because not only do you have to revisit these positions or sign some of these guys to long-term deals, but now kind of handcuffs you in the fact that you have all guys on your own roster that you have to sign, and that's going to make you not players in the free agency market next year.
Well, I think
I think 22 with the 1 year deal thing.
I think the situation that the Eagles were in, it was basically it was that or nothing. You know, they don't have the money to lock players up. I feel like, you know, you know, we might lose Jason Peters next year. That's $9 million off the cap or so, or I'm trying to figure out how much he makes, but it's around that. So you lose Kelsey next season. That's another six mil or whatever he's making. Um, so there's some pieces that we're gonna let go, and I think it sets up a these players are gonna want new contracts, so they're gonna play their ass off either way. And Alshon Jeffrey could have went other places, got more years, but he chose to stick it with us because he sees something with this organization and our quarterback. So I feel like, you know, we're definitely keeping Alshon Jeffrey. So I wouldn't worry about that. I feel like if he has a healthy season, um, we'll keep him. We'll make room for him. I think Torrey Smith is expendable, and we're gonna lose. We might lose J Matt as well. So there will be some money.
There will be some money there, and there's no doubt in my mind that they will be players once again. So here's the big question of this entire thing. Earlier today on Twitter, you posted a graphic, really blunt logo. Will you be making T-shirts to sell out?
Will I be making T-shirts? If people want them, uh, I just make shit. Um,
Yeah,
I just make shit on the daily because I'm bored.
what we do here at Fourth and John. We just make memes. We leave it up.
When we're bored, we make memes and we laugh. We like to laugh at Fourth and John. If you haven't realized how much we like to laugh or like to see I Bleed Philly in rompers, if you go to Fourth and John, check that out.
Come up. I feel like I was fishing that day, and I feel like I wasn't checking the Twitter. I wasn't checking my timeline. All of a sudden, I look at the timeline, and it's rompers, rompers, rompers. Where did that come from?
I don't know. I think Black Twitter started that. They hyped that up.
Yeah, I don't know anything about
They,
that.
they took it and ran because I was having the same conversation with my coworker today. I'm like, how did that start? Who started it? And she's like, I think Black Twitter started it. So I'm gonna go with that. But you missed out. It was pretty. It was like trending. It was pretty crazy.
Well, I'll definitely leave it at that. Gail, anything else to add on this first ever edition? And we like to do this weekly. Kind of get to you on the split screen, talk some Eagles football, talk some current events, talk some Eagles Twitter, talk whatever, talk rompers. No, we're not fucking talking rompers,
Nah,
fam.
not here. No rompers at the tailgate. We're telling you guys now.
Okay, no, there will be romping at the tailgate, but no rompers.
Right.
Anything you'd like to add on this inaugural episode of Fourth and John split screen FaceTime? We got to name this thing or something.
The off season. I don't know.
Off season chat. I don't know. We'll come up with some.
Yeah, but
Something.
we're gonna start adding some content to our YouTube Fourth and John YouTube channel. Is starting to expand. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're on YouTube.
Now we're on YouTube. I love it, man. I love it. All right, so everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate it. As always, go Birds, and we will see you next week.